Hi, my name is Nancy McCrae, and I'm going to show you today how I warp a rigid heddle loom. You will need a rigid heddle loom with a dent that has the right number of slots and holes for the yarn you're going to use. You'll need yarn and a heddle hook. You'll need some sturdy paper. I like to use grocery sacks from my local store. And you'll need a warping post. Start by tying your yarn to the back dowel and dropping your ball of yarn on the floor. You'll want to start threading through a slot that is 2.5 inches to the right of the center of your heddle. So that looks like 2.5 inches to me. Pull through a slot and then walk the yarn over to the warping peg. Each time you go, you come to the back warping dowel, you will go around the dowel. I went over the dowel and under it this time. And now the yarn is under the dowel, so I will bring it around the dowel until it's traveling over the dowel. What matters is that you are going around the dowel. You want all of your yarns to be about the same tension. You don't want any that are very much looser or very much tighter as you stack the warp threads up on your warping peg. Tight isn't better than loose. Even is the goal. When you have threaded the last slot, break the yarn and tie it around the back dowel. Now it's time to cut the warp ends off the peg. Gently lift the warp up, placing your fingers in the spot where the peg was, and turn your warp so that it's parallel to the table. Cut through the very end of your warp and lay it down. This next part is key. It's very important that the warp be wound on with an even tension. I see a lot of people putting a lot of tension on by holding it tightly as they wind on. That is kind of difficult to do sometimes, but also I believe that you're going to get a more even tension by not allowing anyone or anything to touch the warp while you wind it on. I will demonstrate. Begin winding the warp onto the back beam. proceed until the warp yarn is just about to layer onto itself. You don't want 2 layers of yarn. Always put some paper in between. The paper I use is grocery sacks. They seem to be just the right amount of sturdiness. Now I do want you to pull firmly on the paper bag. Not firmly enough that you're going to pull it out, but firmly enough so that there is no buildup with the yarn. This yarn is very curly, but it's going on with perfectly even tension. Continue to wind until the ends of your warp are just past those front beams. What we have now is 2 warp yarns in each slot for the width of your project. You see that there are slots and there are holes. We're going to take 1 warp thread from every slot and move it to the hole next to it. You can go right or left. You can start on the right or the left, but you want to be consistent. In my case, I am taking out 1 warp thread and moving it to the hole to the right. I will do that all the way across. Now it's time to tie the warp threads to the front dowel. Grab a group of about 8 threads or 1 inch worth in the center of your warp. Pull it towards you over the dowel, split it in half underneath, bring the right tail up on the right side and cross it over the left tail on the left side. Repeat that, moving from the center out. So I'm taking a bundle on the left of the center group and now to the right of the center group. You want your groups to be approximately the same size, but they don't have to be exactly the same size. Now we want to check the tension. I do this by tapping lightly on the warp threads, sometimes with my eyes closed, and I can notice that the outer bundles are tighter than the middle bundles. So I'm going to grab the tails of the middle bundle and pull on them to tighten that group. Again, I'm going to work from the center out, left, right, left, right. Check again to see if the tension seems even. Fix it if it's not. And then when you are convinced that the tension is even, you tie the second half of the knot. Going to my center bundle, I take the 2 tails, put the left tail over the right tail, and then around. Left tail over right tail, through the hole. And now we're ready to start weaving.
It's you. So you have to push it through here and then make it diagonal, and then you go as hard as you can, and then you go down, up, then back down, so that you can push it on the bottom, and then you go through the middle of the string again, and then you have to go as hard as you can, and then go down and then back up. And then you just have to keep doing that until your scarf or whatever you're weaving is done.